Okay, there's still the video I need to do prior to Silverstone showing you what else happened at the Austrian Grand Prix, which was the Grand Prix prior to Silverstone. That bit involving Raikkonen and Vettel, and what the penalty was for that, and what the offence was described as, and how that relates to Silverstone. But as I used this video, or part of this video, in my last one revealing about Damon Hill, I thought I'd do a quick breakdown of this one. So what we know is after the 2021 season fix, the FIA promised the world it was going to do a full review and tell us all about it and make sure it could never happen again. And what they then did, they prolonged that process and dropped it just before qualifying for the first Grand Prix of the 2022 season. No coincidence there. Oh, we're all excited about the new season. Move on from the last one. And this is Sky Sports presenting that narrative. Now, what you've got to always bear in mind is with Sky Sports, they are the paid broadcaster. They are paid to present the narrative. So these four stood round having their circle jerk now are pretending. Okay, they are pretending to be the voice of reason, the voice of balance, pretending to question what's going on when really they're not questioning what's going on. That's just a facade, that's just a veneer. Their role is to convince you to accept it and to move on from it. Because this is unacceptable, totally unacceptable. It's criminality, it's a global fraud, and yet the way that they present it, if they just completely tried to validate everything, that would actually expose them more. So if they just tried to say, no, it's all right, it's all right, it's all right, that would set the alarm bells ringing for everybody. But the fact that they go, oh, yeah, well, this appears to be wrong. What's going on here? This appears to be wrong. It makes you think that there is this balance of argument and that they are considering this, but having considered that, they still think it's okay to move on. It's all the mechanics of it. It's bullshit. Because actually, the things that they're not identifying are the key things. And the things that they should be identifying, they're not identifying them in the way that truly exposes the magnitude of the corruption. So we're going to go through this and I'll talk you through what's going on with it. So you've got to remember we've got characters here. Kravitz is basically the village idiot, isn't he? I mean, fucking looks like the village idiot, the way he's dressed. Ted's notebook, goes walking around the paddock, everybody thinks he's a goon, because he is, right? So therefore, whenever there's something needs to be presented, that's like, let's try and discredit this, we'll get Kravitz to, because he's the one that's easy to discredit. Lazenby is this, oh, I'm just the person asking the questions. Again, it's just a fucking facade. And then we've got the two so-called experts. Brundle, the so-called expert of the sport, and Hill as the former world champion, also giving expert analysis. And that's supposed to give you the impression that you're receiving valid information. It's all bullshit. Anyway, let's have a listen.
They drop it just before qualifying. It's taken them 100 days. Ted, if you summarise, it's 7 pages long?
Yeah, everybody can have a look at it. It's on the FIA website, FIA.com, so have a look for it for yourself. But the biggest thing...
And I've not been through this yet. I've read it, and it's absolutely laughable. I've said to you before, a 14-year-old child could have put together a more coherent report than that. This was utterly ridiculous, and I will obliterate it at some point. But we'll just go through a few of the points that I mentioned in this video.
Is that the result of the championship hasn't changed. Max Verstappen still won the race. And you look surprised, Damon.
I thought you were going to make some great announcement. That was a shattering announcement there.
Is that unsurprisingly, Max Verstappen is still the 2021 world champion. But it does go into lots of detail. It lays out the key facts of what happened. It explains that what...
Look at what he's projected, but it does go into a lot of detail and it lays out the key facts. It absolutely doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. And the things that it does mention are fucking irrelevant. But again, you'll understand that when I do a presentation on it.
One of the things that happened in those 4 minutes between 6:27 and 6:31, where Michael Masi, the previous race director, said that lapped cars wouldn't be able to unlap themselves and that they would, was that he received that bargaining from Christian Horner and Jonathan Wheatley on the team radio. So they're kind of implying that that had an effect, but that's one of the key findings. The other key...
One of the findings of the report is that the message between Red Bull and Masi had an effect on what Masi did. Right, that's a cop-out. Did that have an effect on what F1 TV chose to broadcast to the world? Did that message that got broadcast from Horner to Masi have an effect on Martin Brundle and David Croft, who, before that message, were saying, oh, we're bound to have a couple of laps racing, and how long will we wait? They don't have to let all of the lapped cars go through. That's not mandatory. And are they gonna let them get right round the track? How long will they? So Brundle and Crofty are lying about what's possible, lying to suggest that certain ways forward are possible before the rules are broken, before Horner even gets on the radio to Masi. The alarm bell should be ringing. This thing was contrived. When it happens, what is the response of all of the teams? When Masi pulls in the safety car before that extra lap is afforded to the release cars, only 5 of 8 release cars, what do all the teams do? Teams should be outraged. No, that's not the rules. You're not allowed to do that. All the teams go, oh, he may bring the car in this lap. Well, why would they think that? Why would they even say that? Because that's not in the rules of the sport. What discussions had taken place beforehand that are in breach of the rules and regulations of the sport? And yet they're trying to tell you now that, oh yeah, this conversation between Red Bull and Masi that caused that. No. This is much bigger than that. This was pre-fucking determined. This outcome was predetermined. And if it wasn't predetermined in terms of Max Verstappen winning, the complicity of all the teams in this notion of a contrived finish, of it going down to the last lap of the last Grand Prix of the season, Red Bull manipulated that situation by contriving it the way they did, having already got the complicit agreement of all the other teams that, hey, wouldn't it be exciting if we did this and we'd retain so many more fans by this spectacle? That's what happened. But again, we'll get into that in the video about the rules and regulations, sorry, the FIA report.
The finding is that the role of the race director had got too pressurised, so he needed help.
Oh, the FIA report found that the role of referee in the sport was pressurised. Thanks for that.
The radio communications between Masi and Horner and Wheatley, and indeed Masi and Mercedes, had a negative impact on the decision.
The team shouting at the referee had a negative impact on it. Thanks for that.
Decision making. I think we kind of knew that already. The analysis shows that there can be different interpretations of the safety car unlapping procedures.
No, they can't. Okay, they can't, and there's a reason behind that. Do they explain that reason? Do they explain to you, this is the regulation and this is what it is there for? Or do they just say, oh, it just revealed that there can be different interpretations? At what point have they said, well, these are the regulations, we just made them up, you know, they're just words, don't know why they are, don't know why we put them in to be like that, don't know, what's the point? We just thought we'd write this list of things to do, and oh, you can interpret that list of things to do different ways. No. When you're writing rules and regulations, you're doing it to achieve certain outcomes. Why are you doing it? What are them outcomes that you need to achieve? Oh, that'd be regulations as to what you need to abide by in order to achieve the outcomes you need to achieve before you can resume racing. Have you ever explained that? Any of you? No. Why? Because when you do explain that, it exposes that you as a governing body, right, you as an entire sport, have ridden roughshod over that to contrive and ending. That's fixing. That's what you've done. And nobody is revealing it. They're just validating it.
The old any cars can overtake, and then all cars should overtake
the old. No, not the old any all. No, that was something that was suggested in the aftermath of Abu Dhabi, something that's not taken place since 2012. Okay, and you present, oh yeah, that old thing again. Oh, silly us.
Unlap themselves and overtake the safety car, and indeed the timing of when the race should restart after that happens. So while they admit,
and indeed the timings of when the fact that you need to give those released cars that had previously been held back, you need to give them the opportunity of trying to catch the back of the pack, to try to restore sporting fairness to all competitors. Yeah, that needs to be done before you can resume racing again. Oh, they were questioning what that's all about. Let's just go through that again, because the FIA, the governing body, I'd say, oh, there's a bit of an issue, but we don't really know what the issue is with that.
There can be different interpretations of the safety car unlapping procedures. The old any cars can overtake, and then all cars should overtake unlap themselves and overtake the safety car, and indeed the timing of when the race should restart after that happens. So while they admit here that the race director called the safety car back into the pit lane without it having completed the additional lap as required by the sporting regulations, it doesn't admit that that was a mistake. So it does not admit that Masi incorrectly applied his own rules.
Well, if you're not admitted that, because it does state that in the regulations and he didn't do it. So why haven't you admitted it? Because by admitting it, what does it prove? It means that you delve into it and you start understanding what the implications of not doing it are. And hence, when you look at the implications, you can derive exactly what happened, exactly what was impacted, and hence the fact that this would have been absolutely 100% a safety car finish, 100%, and therefore what took place totally changed the outcome of both the event and the World Championship, and hence you have to do something about it. But they're not admitting to that, so they go, oh yeah, we just think, oh, we realise it could be a bit confusing for you all. So yeah, move on.
Okay.
Interestingly, because I guess to do that would open a can of worms.
To do that would open a can of worms. No, it wouldn't open a can of worms. It would reveal the fraud. Let's be clear. It's not. Oh, let's not leave this ambiguous, okay? Let's not pretend. When you hear the phrase "open a can of worms," oh, what's that going to be? Oh, that's opening a can of worms. Oh, we don't know. Oh, would the lawyers be getting involved? Oh, no. Let's be clear. It reveals that what has taken place is fraudulent. That's a crime. That exposes that you are criminals. That exposes that you are corrupt. That exposes you have broken the law. You will get jail time for this. You will go to jail. Those of you that are involved in this will go to prison because you are perpetrators. You have been involved in perpetrating a crime. Oh, that opens a can of worms. No. This is serious.
We've already talked plenty about. There are other things. Mike,
that opens a can of worms, but we've already talked plenty about that. Move on. Don't talk about that, everybody. Move on. But we've mentioned it. So, we've presented this facade of balance.
Massi's decision on to try to end, the impulse behind the whole thing. Why was Masi so keen to end the race under green flag conditions and not under a safety car? That he might have been, unduly swayed by that was the process demanded by the FI Commission, the F1 Commission, and the F1 team managers.
The process demanded by the F1 Commission and the F1 team managers. Why would you demand that? Why would you demand that? We demand that this sport ends this way. We demand that the World Cup final ends with a penalty shootout. Well, what's that then? That's contriving the outcome of a sport. You're not allowed to do that. That's fixing. Oh, but the two teams involved in the final and all of the sponsors and FIFA, the world governing body, they all demanded that the game must end in a penalty shootout. Well, you're all corrupt then, because you're all contriving the outcome to a sporting event. That's called corruption. That's called fixing outcomes in a sport where you're not allowed to do that. And if you don't understand that, back the fuck off and don't make a comment if you don't understand. Okay? Go away, learn, get your head around it. Okay? It's a crime. It's a crime. Like in cricket, for example, spot fixing is when a bowler purposefully bowls a no ball, right? That is fixing something. He does it on purpose because people have placed bets on certain events, certain outcomes. And then they make them outcomes happen on purpose. That is spot fixing. That is things that are predetermined, contrived. That's not allowed. You're not allowed to predetermine the ending of an event. That being, this event will end with a penalty shootout. No, that happens organically if that's how the game goes. You're not allowed to have an agreement beforehand to contrive it to end that way. That is what you're doing. We, the teams, have made an agreement beforehand to contrive this to make sure that whatever happens, it's going to end as a race. You're not allowed to do that. If the rules, if the situation does not allow that in accordance with the rules, it can't happen. Don't try and justify it, because you're trying to justify and explain away a fraud. Why would these teams want to do it this way? They would want to do it for commercial reasons. They would want to do it so that they're scared that certain fans won't understand and will get disillusioned and not want to watch the sport. Well, you're not doing this for sport then, are you? You're doing it for commercial reasons. You're doing it for money. So you're making the money off of fixing an event. That's fraud. That's corruption. Are you starting to understand now? Who has made all the money on this? Liberty Media has gone from 9 billion to 13.8 billion. $4.8 billion in the space of a year in their growth. Every F1 team has grown from 500 million in value up to 1.9 billion in value due to the increase in audience. When more eyes are watching the sport, the greater the marketability is, the greater that the sport can charge for people that want to sponsor their brands onto the sport, because their brands get greater exposure. That value is greater to them. They can sell more of their shit because more people are being exposed to it. So they have to pay more to advertise, and then teams get that money from that advertising. That's the way it works. Everything is money. That's not sport.
And it goes to the big four recommendations that we know already, don't we? The big four recommendations for change are that there's going to be a VAR-style room where the race director can get help.
One of the changes is it's going to be a VAR-style room. So you already have 4 stewards sat down in a room, looking at TV monitors, able to review replays of incidents to determine what the issue is and what the penalties are going to be. That is using video assistance to make refereeing decisions. But we're going to introduce a new VAR system. Those of you that believe that this is going to be a new thing, let me see if I can be interested in selling you some magic beans. Or maybe a new coat made out of the finest threads that only the most intelligent of you will be able to see.
No radio communications except innocent questions from the team wall to the race director.
Oh, the second recommendation is well, the actual second recommendation is just that. The messages between the teams and the race control aren't broadcast to you, so you don't get to hear them. But the ones that you did get to hear, they were chosen to give you a narrative. They didn't have to be chosen. They didn't have to be broadcast. F1 TV picked them out, played them to you, because they wanted to make you think and feel a certain way. That is what they do. They create a narrative.
They're going to reassess the unlapping procedures, and there's going to be a new race.
They're going to reassess the unlapping procedures. What has changed? Nothing. Why has it not changed? Because there's a purpose, there's a reason. What is the purpose and the reason? Oh, we're not going to tell you. I'll tell you. I have told you in every single video. That is, at the point in time a safety incident occurs, the race gets neutralised. You cannot allow that safety incident to impact the drivers in that race, the competitors in that race, in different ways. You can't allow for a safety concern to mean that some cars can catch up and gain all this time on the cars that they were previously behind, and yet at the same time, one car or many cars being in a position where they previously were challenging the car in front, but because the leader had come round and gone by them, but not the car just in front of them, and the safety cars had deployed, all the cars they were previously challenged have disappeared off around the track and are now best part of a lap ahead of them. Skewed outcomes. You can't allow a safety incident to impact the chances of competitors in that way. So prior to resuming competition, you have to reset it back to like a zero position, whereby it's, okay, we need to get everybody in the right order, and we need to get everybody where all the advantages have been wiped out, and we're ready to go racing again. And those procedures were written the way they were in order to achieve that. Quite simple. And yet the sport cannot explain that to you. The expert of the sport, Martin Brundle, cannot explain that to you. Damon Hill, former world champion, cannot explain that to you. Lazenby, circle jerking frat boy, cannot explain to you. Fucking village idiot, Ted Kravitz, cannot explain that to you. Strange, isn't it?
Director management team, which we already know. A couple of new things on that recommendations. There's going to be a new F1 sporting director on the FIA side, and they recommend that the
and that's going to change everything, isn't it?
FIA get themselves a lawyer.
Oh, the FIA get themselves a lawyer. Oh, right, okay. Oh, the lawyers are involved now. Don't you worry your little heads. None of you will be able to understand any of this. It's all a legal matter now. Oh, it's just like the Emperor's New Clothes again. Only the most intelligent of you in society will be able to understand this. Only the most intelligent of you will be able to understand and see the fine threads of these Emperor's New Clothes. I'm just a little kid just saying he's got nothing on. That's all I am.
There's going to be a legal counsel to help them out in previous ones. So it also talks about human error as to why only 5 people were able to unlap themselves and not all of them. And it says that there was human error in that. So it seems that somebody made a mistake. What it doesn't do...
Ted, have you identified that Crofty and Brundle seem to make that mistake by... the times that they talked about the lapped cars, they only listed the 5 lapped cars that were the 5 lap cars that were ultimately released. Do you not find that strange? But because there were 8 lapped cars and they mentioned it 3 times, and each time they just mentioned the 5 of them. So that drew the viewer's attention to something, didn't it? Conditions of mind. It's a construct.
Of course, the question still outstanding from this, Simon, is that we seemingly haven't heard from Michael Massey. There's no quotes in here or reference to further evidence from Michael Massey. What was he thinking, and whether there was any other influence or input in those...
Oh, but they've made him sign a non-disclosure agreement, so he's not allowed to say anything. Well, if everything was above board, why are they saying, oh, you're not allowed to say anything about this? Why would that be? It's quite a simple question, isn't it? If it's all an innocent mistake, I made an error. This is what the situation was. So, sorry, hold my hands up. This is what went on. Is there a problem in saying that? No, you're not allowed to say anything. Well, why not? Because what really happened? What really happened? Oh, you're not going to tell us. You're just going to spin us this bullshit.
4 minutes that he had to make his decision.
Well, thank you. Why is it taking so long, and does it satisfy you?
I guess it had to be sanctioned by the World Motorsport Council. That.
Oh yes, it had to be sanctioned by the World Motorsport Council. This body, who are linked with the FIA, that are supposed to add this layer of authenticity to it, who are corrupt as well. Because if you look at that FIA report, any official body would have laughed it away. You put that into any form of court whatsoever, they'd have just ripped it to shreds, okay, and just told them to fuck off. Simple as that. It is absolutely ridiculous. But the World Motorsport Council have had their little vote and approved it. Oh yes, we ratify that. Corrupt.
That met here, but it feels like something that should have been put to bed in January, doesn't it? There's no.
Oh yeah, let's just downplay. Oh yeah, all this should have happened a long time ago. Yeah, we've moved on from that already.
Nothing new in there that we did.
Nothing new, nothing we didn't know.
Already know. For those of us that were there in the through the season, through the last few minutes of that race, and I think what happened was almost inevitable in the end when you analyse. There's a lot of levels to that. I think the other thing that is in there are it lists the three groups of people.
You're telling us a lot there, Martin, aren't you? You're really giving us that valuable insight with all that. Yeah, bullshit, isn't it? Because you can't give a clear explanation. You're the expert. But I can tell you what's going on. But we've got Colin in the comments section that they'll value what you have to say, Martin, and dismiss me. Because I've not got motorsport blood running through my veins, apparently. Well, I don't want motorsport blood running through my veins. Quite happy with the stuff that's already going through there, in all fairness. But Martin's going to tell us to validate something that he shouldn't be validating now.
That asked for races to be finished under the
Let's just go back.
asked for are the three groups of people that asked for races to be finished under the including the team managers, the F1 Sporting Commission, and it also lists the drivers as well. There's another body in there.
So you're making out, it lists the three bodies that asked for the races to end under the green conditions. You can't do that. You can't predetermine the outcome of an event, how an event is going to end. You've got a set of rules and regulations, and if the event, the way that things proceed, determine that it just ends the way it ends, and you can't go breaking those rules to change that. But you're validating the fact that that's what they did. Oh yeah, but that's the outcome that they wanted. So therefore, yeah, that's why we broke the rules, to get the outcome that they wanted. We are not allowed to do that. That's the point, dickhead. But the experts are, yeah, but it identifies the three bodies that wanted that. Don't care. It's irrelevant. All it is, it's fixing, and you're just validating it.
That asked for, where safe and where possible, not to finish under a safety car.
Yeah, but that wasn't a rule. I mean, no,
it's not a rule.
The new.
No, it's not a rule. So we've again projected the voice of balance. We've dealt with it and we've moved on, but we've not exposed it as being fraudulent, have we? We've not exposed that as fixing outcomes in sport, have we? Yeah, we've dealt with it, we've moved on, we've brushed it aside, we've put it to bed. Move on, move on, move on. Don't let them fucking focus on the fact that we've fucking contrived the outcome of a sport.
The thing is that the human error led to the fact that not all cars were.
Oh, and let's focus on the human error aspect, because we're all human, aren't we? We're all human. We all make mistakes, and none of us want to be hauled over the coals every time we make a mistake. We're all human, everybody. We can all empathise with that, can't we? Human error. Yeah, that's right, everybody. We're all human, after all. Don't put the blame on me.
Allowed to unlap themselves. Well, hang on, who made this human error? And could they not interpret what all of us could see as to who was unlapped and who wasn't?
Yeah.
So that's
Well, like I say, Ted, your colleagues Brundle and Crofty, ask them why, when they listed 3 times prior to Massey making that human error, just the 5 cars that were in between Hamilton and Verstappen. You know, and totally omitted the other 3 each time. And what that does.
It's an odd one.
I mean,
who was it doesn't name the person who made this human error. Was it Massey? Was it his assistant? We don't know this.
Okay. Well, I mean, there are.
And Massey can't tell you because he's got a non-disclosure agreement, and nobody's telling you. And the cameras that they usually have in race control showing you what's going on there. We've not seen the footage of that.
Are a lot of disillusioned fans. There still are a lot of disillusioned fans. That's not lost on us.
Yeah.
As we said.
So that's not lost on us. So we have to try to justify this to you by projecting ourselves as having the voice of balance to explain to you fully what's going on, which you're not doing. Take into consideration the things that we're seeing that you're outraged about, and try to address them and try to appease you and try and get you to move on. That's what you're being paid to do.
I mean, it's not going to change the result.
No.
That's.
And you keep saying that it's not going to change the result. It's not. Well, why? You're a corrupt regime for not changing the result. Oh yeah, something's happened, but we, the governing body, we can't do anything about it. Well, yeah, you can, because that's your role. Oh, but our rules say that you can't. No, they don't say that, because they say you can. And even if something happens that none of your rules appear to suggest that there's anything in your rules is beyond your control. Well, certainly it does, because it gives you the control to do the right thing. But as governing body, if something unprecedented happens, you set the precedent. You say, right, look, everybody, this has happened. This is why it's wrong. This is why it's wrong for it to have happened. This is what it did, and therefore this is what we are doing to address that, because that is wrong. You set the precedent. That's what you do. But instead they go, oh yeah, oh, this has happened. There's nothing we can do, is there? Nothing we can do. So the result's still the same. Move on. Well, you made it that way. Oh yeah, we made it that way, but there's nothing we can do. And that's what they've convinced you of. You're the government. You're in charge of setting policy. Yeah, but that's happened. The laws are what they are. There's nothing we can do now. Insider trading, collapsing the British economy to the tune of £60 billion. Quasi-Kwarteng. Oh, that was just this new form of economics that we thought we'd give it a go. Didn't think, but telling our mates what we were going to do beforehand and letting them fuck around with the investments and collapse everything, right? Whilst they made billions. Yeah, I don't know. Nothing we can do is move on.
Hard and fast now, but what do you make of
That's the point. It's not going to change the result, and I think this is the big question.
Oh, it's not going to change it, is it?
The moment Mercedes withdrew their appeal and decided they were not going to pursue this in the courts or international courts or whatever, the matter was over, frankly. The award was given to Max Verstappen. This is not going to console or...
It was over the moment the award was given to Max Verstappen. No. You get people in sports that get stripped of their titles. Oh, no, but our rules are, if you've given them the award, then they get to keep it. No. If then future corruption is found out, you get stripped. Oh, that's the way things work.
Or in any way comfort people who believe that Lewis Hamilton was robbed of an 8th World.
Who believe, once again, oh, it's believed. There'll be some of you that believe this and some of you that believe that. Oh, the people that believe. No, just categorically state that he was robbed, because he was robbed.
World title. They're sort of admitting that it was a wrong decision, but they're not admitting that that affected the outcome of the World Championship.
They're their own judge and jury, so, you know, why?
And it did. They're sort of admitting that they've done it wrong, but it didn't affect the result. Well, it blatantly did. And they're their own judge and jury. So if they're their own judge and jury, then they're doing that. They're corrupt.
Why would they do that? I suppose you. But if you're Lewis Hamilton, if you're Mercedes,
so again, you've addressed it. Oh, they're their own judge and jury. Okay, right. So what does that mean? It means that they're corrupt. Then it means that they are corrupt because they're not doing the right thing. They've contrived an outcome, and then they go, "Oh yeah, we just nothing we can do about it." Yeah, I've stolen your stuff, but there's nothing you can do about it.
would you be vindicated in your thoughts that actually you were robbed? I don't think they're expecting anything earth-shattering from this, though. Do you? I don't.
Earth-shattering. Look at the way these fucking circle jerkers project this.
I think Mercedes were thinking, oh wow, right, we're going to go to town on this after the report comes.
Under pressure, mistakes were made. It was a mess, and there's no remedy. And we said this minutes afterward. There's no remedy to unravel that race. So.
Yeah, there is. There clearly is. The remedy was there's an appeal system whereby at the end of the race, Mercedes put in a valid appeal and said you've not carried out the procedure. And the remedy is you reinstate the lap back to where it was, where the rules weren't broken, and you declare the race result at that point in time. That's the remedy. That's allowed within the rules of the sport. You didn't do that. Why didn't you do that? So you made a mistake, so-called mistake, with race control. Your stewards then made a mistake. We can look back even before any of those mistakes with F1 TV presenting a narrative that then the mistake followed, and Sky Sports F1 presenting a narrative that then mistakes seem to coincide with. And then the governing body makes a mistake that was set up for it to be made after the request for the miracle. And then the stewards make that mistake. And then the governing body looks at that and go, yeah, mistakes all round, isn't it? We can think we can do. No, they don't go, hey, what's going on here? This is clearly wrong.
So nothing's changed since then, except some processes will be put in to make sure it doesn't happen again.
And speaking of a fan of the sport, and we're all fans of the sport, I think I see it the same as Lewis Hamilton when he was asked, do you now have faith, do you now have trust in the fact that this governance has been sorted and that there's never going to be these weird decisions that affect the outcome of World Championships again? To which Hamilton said, well, let's wait and see.
So what we're doing now, you have to have a fall guy in every situation. You have to pin the blame on something, and all these people are working in as a contrivance. And why are they working as a contrivance? Because it benefits them all. Now, George Carlin did say something along the lines of, you don't have to have an explicit conspiracy when the interests of all parties involved converge. You've got Liberty Media that own the commercial rights. They stand to gain a lot of money. You've got every Formula One teams, the brand of Formula One, gaining a lot of money through increased fan base. You've got Sky Sports gaining a lot of money as the contracted broadcaster. You've got the FIA, okay? They're all involved in this. You've got all of the teams that are gaining a lot of money from this. Just by being involved in it, it's worth a lot of money to them, okay? So they're all involved. This has kicked off. They've fixed the outcome. Somebody has got to take the blame for it. So they're all going, oh yeah, you know what? We're not confident necessarily in the FIA. You take the hit for it, FIA. We'll project all the blame on you, and we'll all say, yeah, we don't think that we don't. Are we actually confident that you're going to change and make sure this doesn't happen again? You're all involved. You're all involved. You've all been paid to do this. You're all hiding it. You are conspiring together. Nobody has actually called it out, and none of the media has ever called out the true nature of this. It's the dynamics of it.
I kind of feel that the proof will be on the pudding, and we have to wait and see. And they've certainly put the processes in place, so let's wait and see. We can only hope and be optimistic.
One thing you would say is we've got Herbie Blash, who's now overseeing 2 race directors. You've got this VAR system, for want of a better word, back in Geneva. Is it going to be decision by committee? And will that confuse matters further? I mean, you know Bernie's old mantra, isn't it?
Look at this. Just fucking waffling on. Absolute waffle.
I mean, the sort of...
Yes, I mean, it used to be you had a set of regulations and everyone understood what to expect when a procedure was happening. But throughout last year, there was a kind of moving of the targets, whether it was track limits, whether it was overtaking procedures, and some of that was pushed by drivers, by team managers.
There wasn't a movement of the goalposts as to what was acceptable and what wasn't, because if you go through the penalties awarded to drivers got penalised for pushing cars off the track, for crowding, for causing collisions, unless you were car number 33, and then you weren't. So what does that show you? Shows you that one driver was afforded everything possible in order to take a challenge to Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes. That's what happened. That can be evidenced.
So the FIA and F1 responded to the demands of fans to see better racing.
You didn't see better racing, you saw filthy driving that then wasn't punished. You've got a responsibility to educate the kids, the fans, the people that are growing up now wanting to be involved in motorsport themselves. You've got a responsibility to educate them as to what's acceptable and what isn't. This is the example you've set to them. This is what you've said to them is acceptable. The style of driving that Max Verstappen was allowed to get away with in 2021 and go unpunished for. That's the precedent you've set. People will die as a result of that. You are filthy fuckers, and as a result, everybody involved will have the blood on your fucking hands of anybody that dies as a result of the example that has been set by your decision making in 2021. Filthy bastards.
So some of those, all those regulations suddenly became movable feasts.
No, they didn't.
And that's really why it ended up where it did, I think. At the
No, it didn't.
end, the race director thought, well, I'm going to apply the flexible
There's nothing flexible about the safety car protocols.
interpretation to the regulations and give people what they want, which was a
This is a former world champion presented to you as an expert, and all of this is bollocks.
thrilling last lap, which is what happened. Unfortunately, Lewis was a dead duck the moment the safety car came in. He could have defended, but what's
He could have defended.
he to do against the guy who's got more points than him?
No, he hadn't got more points than him. They're equal on points. Verstappen supposedly had the extra race win of the Belgian parade, where he got 5 extra points. But had that race, that Belgian parade, rightfully been cancelled, because it wasn't a race, there was no competition there, then Lewis Hamilton would have gone into Abu Dhabi 5 points ahead in the championship with 8 race wins apiece. And now Verstappen, if you try and crush him out again, well, you both crash out, Lewis is champion. But when you've got that little safety net of knowing that even though you're level on points, that supposed extra race victory means that you can crush him out of the race and you'll be the world champion. Oh, I wonder what you're going to try.
Okay. Well, we could go on all day on this, couldn't we?
Yeah.
As we were saying, the race directors, perhaps no more mistakes.
Oh, we could go on all day.
The nice guy from the race directors, they've got to stand up to the team, they've got to stand up to the drivers, got to stand up for themselves.
Yeah, and the 7 pages, any amount of words cannot change what happened that night, unfortunately.
We'll see then, Martin. We shall see. 7 pages, and we'll go through them 7 pages and point out how ridiculous they are and expose the fraud even more. This is something that the UK Serious Fraud Office should be doing, but like so many governmental agencies, they're a facade. They're not holding the perpetrators to account, they're enabling corruption. Insider trading is a crime. What's being done about that? Oh, but we're all in this together. All your mortgages have gone up £400, £500 a month as a result of that. But we're all in this together. Yeah. And billionaires that ran off with everything because of it, because of the information that they got made aware of, they're in it the same, aren't they? Yeah, we're all in it together.